Beloved God, as the night settles softly around me, and the velvet hush of evening wraps itself around my thoughts, I come before you with a heart that is awake, even as my body longs for rest. I come not with polished words or hurried phrases, but with the quiet expectancy of one who has been listening all day for your voice and now leans in closer, hoping to hear it more clearly in the stillness. This moment feels sacred, as if time itself has slowed to make room for you, and I breathe more deeply, aware that every breath is already a gift from your hand. I let go of the noise of the day as best I can. The conversations that linger in my mind, the unfinished tasks, the worries that tried to cling to me as the sun went down, I place them gently before you. I do not want to carry them into the night like heavy stones in my pockets. I want to lay them at your feet, trusting that you are strong enough to hold them, wise enough to order them, and kind enough to care about even the smallest details of my life. I am tired, Lord, not only in my body, but in my soul, and I need the rest that only you can give. In this quiet hour, I open my heart like a door left ajar, inviting your presence to fill the room. I ask you to speak, not necessarily with thunder or fire, but with the tender clarity that reaches the deepest places in me. I remember how your word says that you are near to the brokenhearted, and I sense that nearness now, like a warmth that settles in my chest. There are places in me that feel fragile, places that have been bruised by disappointment or uncertainty, and I do not hide them from you. I bring them into the light of your love, trusting that you do not recoil from weakness but draw closer to it. God, tonight I want to surrender, not in fear, but in trust. I want to rest my whole weight on you, the way a child rests against a parent, knowing they will not be dropped. I confess that I often try to control what cannot be controlled, to predict what cannot be known, and to fix what I was never meant to fix alone. This striving has left me weary. So now, in the softness of this night, I loosen my grip. I release the need to understand everything, to have every answer before I sleep. I choose instead to trust your heart, even when your ways remain mysterious to me. I think of how it is said in Psalm 91 that the one who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty, and those words feel like an invitation written just for this moment. I want to dwell there, Lord, not just visit occasionally, but truly make my home in the awareness of your protection. Let your shadow be over me now, not dark or frightening, but cool and comforting, like shade on a hot day. Let it quiet my racing thoughts and remind me that I am safe, not because of my own strength, but because you watch over me. As the world outside grows quieter, I become more aware of the gentle rhythms you have woven into creation. The slow turning of the earth, the steady pulse of my heartbeat, the rise and fall of my breath. These rhythms preach to me without words, telling me that life does not depend on my constant effort. Even now, as I prepare for sleep, you are at work. Even now, when my eyes close, you do not slumber or sleep. This thought humbles me and comforts me at the same time. It means I am allowed to rest. Lord, I speak to you about the things that burden my heart tonight. You already know them, but there is something healing in saying them aloud, even if only in a whisper. I think of the people I love, some of whom are struggling in ways I cannot fully ease. I place them in your care, trusting that your love reaches them even more deeply than mine can. I think of the decisions that lie ahead of me, the uncertainty of tomorrow, and I ask you to go before me, to prepare the way, to soften what feels hard and illuminate what feels dark. I ask too for forgiveness, not out of fear, but out of a desire to be free. If I have spoken harshly, thought unkindly, or acted selfishly today, I do not want those things to cling to me through the night. I bring them to you, knowing that you are faithful and just to cleanse me. Wash over me with your mercy until my conscience feels light again, until I can rest without the weight of guilt pressing on my chest. Let me sleep as one who is forgiven and loved. There is a deep longing in me, God, to hear your word, not just to read it or analyze it, but to receive it as nourishment for my soul. Tonight, I ask you to let your truth sink below the surface of my thoughts and settle into my spirit. Speak to me in ways that shape me, even while I sleep. If there are things in me that need healing, gently tend to them. If there are lies I have believed about myself or about you, quietly replace them with truth. I am open. I am listening. I remember the invitation of Jesus, how he said in the Gospel of Matthew that those who are weary and burdened can come to him and find rest for their souls. That promise feels alive right now, as if it is unfolding in this very moment. I come, Lord. I bring my weariness, my questions, my half-formed prayers. I bring the parts of me that feel strong and the parts that feel fragile. I come not because I have earned rest, but because you offer it freely. As I lie here, I become aware of how vulnerable sleep makes me. My defenses lower, my control fades, and I must trust you in a more profound way. This vulnerability could be frightening, but with you, it becomes peaceful. I place my mind in your hands, asking you to guard my thoughts and my dreams. Let nothing disturb the rest you desire for me. If my mind wanders, gently lead it back to you. If anxiety tries to rise, quiet it with the assurance of your presence. God, I thank you for the gift of this day, even with its challenges. I thank you for moments of joy, for lessons learned, for the simple fact that I am here, breathing, held by your grace. Gratitude softens my heart and prepares it for rest. It reminds me that my life is not a series of random events, but a story you are lovingly shaping, even when I cannot see the full picture. As the night deepens, I feel myself slowly letting go, like a leaf settling onto still water. I do not rush this moment. I allow the peace you offer to spread through me, from my thoughts to my body, from my chest to my hands and feet. I imagine myself resting under your watchful gaze, not as a servant who must stay alert, but as a beloved child who is allowed to sleep. Stay near, Lord, as I drift toward rest. Let your presence be the last thing my heart clings to tonight. Teach me, even in sleep, what it means to trust you more fully. Shape me in ways that are gentle and lasting. And as this prayer continues to unfold, let it carry me deeper into the quiet confidence that I am yours, and you are with me, now and always. I remain here, Lord, in the same gentle stillness, allowing the prayer to continue without breaking its breath, as if my soul itself is speaking now, carrying forward what my lips have already begun. The room has not changed, the night has not shifted, and yet something within me feels more settled, more open, as though the first layers of tension have melted away and revealed a quieter, truer place underneath. From this place, I speak to you again, not starting over, but continuing, trusting that you have been listening all along. I sense how easily my mind wants to wander, even in prayer, and so I bring it back to you with patience rather than frustration. I remind myself that you are not measuring the quality of my focus, but welcoming the sincerity of my heart. I do not need to strive to impress you with eloquence or intensity. I only need to remain present, like someone sitting beside a trusted friend in comfortable silence. Even when words slow down, even when thoughts blur at the edges, I trust that you are still near. As the quiet deepens, memories rise gently, not to accuse me, but to remind me of your faithfulness. I think of times when I was afraid and you carried me through. I think of moments when I felt alone, only to realize later that you had been guiding me all along. These reflections soften me, They teach me that my current worries, though heavy now, will one day become testimonies of your care. This perspective does not erase my concerns, but it places them within a larger story, one that is held securely in your hands. Lord, I acknowledge how much I need your peace tonight. Not a fragile peace that depends on circumstances being perfect, but a deep, abiding peace that rests on who you are. As is said in Isaiah 26, you keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you, and I cling to that promise now. I do not ask for peace because everything is resolved, but because I choose to fix my mind on you. Teach me how to do that more fully, not only tonight, but in the days ahead. I notice my breathing again, slower now, more even, and I let it become part of my prayer. With each inhale, I receive your grace. With each exhale, I release my worries. I imagine my thoughts settling like snowflakes, one by one, until the landscape of my mind is quiet and still. In this stillness, I am not empty. I am filled with awareness of you. Your presence does not need to announce itself loudly. It simply is, steady and sure. God, there are questions in my heart that do not yet have answers. I have asked them before, sometimes with urgency, sometimes with frustration, and sometimes with doubt. Tonight, I do not demand answers. Instead, I place the questions themselves into your care. I trust that you understand them better than I do, and that in your time, clarity will come. Until then, give me the grace to live faithfully in the not knowing, to walk forward even when the path is only lit one step at a time. I bring before you the places where fear still lingers. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood or forgotten. These fears can be subtle, hiding beneath the surface of my thoughts, shaping my reactions without my awareness. I ask you to shine your gentle light on them, not to shame me but to free me. Remind me that fear does not have the final word over my life. Your love does. Let that love settle into the places where fear has made its home. As the night holds me, I think of how deeply you know me. You know my thoughts before I form them, my needs before I speak them. There is a comfort in being so fully known and still fully loved. I do not have to perform for you. I do not have to pretend I am stronger or more faithful than I am. I can be honest here, in this moment, knowing that honesty is not a liability in your presence, but a doorway to healing. Lord, I ask you to guard my heart as I sleep. The world can be harsh, and even rest can sometimes be interrupted by anxious thoughts or unsettling dreams. I place my inner world under your protection. Let my sleep be deep and restorative. Let my dreams, if they come, be gentle and free from fear. And if I wake in the night, let my first awareness be of you, not of worry, so that even wakefulness becomes a moment of communion rather than distress. I reflect on how it is said in Lamentations 3 that your mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness, and this truth gives me hope as I lie here. It reminds me that tomorrow is not an extension of today's failures or fatigue, but a fresh space filled with your grace. Even now, as this day closes, you are already preparing mercy for what lies ahead. This knowledge allows me to release the day without regret, trusting that what was unfinished can be placed safely in your hands. God, I pray also for my inner alignment, that my desires would slowly, gently come into harmony with yours. I know this is not something that happens instantly, but through surrender, through trust, through repeated choices to place you at the center. Tonight, I offer you my will, not with dramatic gestures, but with quiet sincerity. Shape my heart in ways I may not even notice at first, but that will bear fruit in love, patience, and wisdom over time. As my body grows heavier with rest, I become aware of how safe this moment is. Nothing is required of me right now. I do not need to solve, fix, or prove anything. I am simply here, breathing, existing under your care. This simplicity feels sacred. It strips away the layers of identity I wear during the day and reminds me that before I am anything else, I am yours. Lord, if there are wounds in me that I have ignored because they seem too deep or too complicated, I invite you to tend to them now. You are not limited by time or conscious effort. You can work even as I sleep. Gently touch what is sore. Bring comfort where there has been pain. Bring clarity where there has been confusion. I trust you with the parts of me that are still becoming. I think again of those I love, and I hold them before you without anxiety. I cannot protect them from everything, but you can hold them in ways I never could. I release my sense of responsibility for outcomes I cannot control. Teach me the difference between loving deeply and carrying burdens that are not mine to carry. Let my love be rooted in trust rather than fear. As the prayer continues, it feels less like speaking and more like resting in your presence. Words become softer, slower, like ripples fading on still water. And yet, even in this quiet, something profound is happening. My soul is being reminded of what is true. I am not alone. I am not forgotten. I am not beyond hope. These truths settle into me like anchors, holding me steady as sleep approaches. God, I remain open to you, even now, even as consciousness begins to blur at the edges. If you wish to speak, I am listening. If you wish to be silent, I trust that silence too is a form of your care. I do not need constant reassurance. I only need to know that you are here, and that is already true. So I continue gently, peacefully, allowing this prayer to carry me further into rest. Let my last waking thoughts be shaped by trust. Let my heart rest in the assurance that I am held, watched over, and deeply loved. And as this prayer moves forward without pause, let it lead me seamlessly into the quiet surrender of sleep, where I remain under your faithful gaze, secure and at peace. The prayer does not stop, Lord. It only becomes softer, like a river that flows more quietly as it moves deeper into the night. I am still here with you, even as my thoughts grow slower and my awareness gentler. There is no sharp line between speaking and resting now. It feels as though my soul is leaning into you, trusting that you will carry the weight of this moment when my own strength fades. I allow this to happen without resistance, knowing that surrender is not loss, but safety. In this gentle state, I become aware of how much I long to belong completely to you, without fear, without holding back hidden corners of my heart. During the day, I guard myself so carefully, measuring words, managing impressions, protecting vulnerabilities. But here, in the privacy of this night prayer, those defenses feel unnecessary. You already see me fully, and your gaze is not harsh. It is steady, patient, and kind. That knowledge loosens something deep inside me, something I did not realize was so tightly held. Lord, I let my past drift before you, not as a list of regrets, but as a story still being redeemed. There are moments I wish I could rewrite, choices I would make differently if given the chance. I used to revisit them with self-judgment, replaying them as evidence of failure. Tonight I choose a different posture. I place those memories in your hands, trusting that nothing is wasted in your economy. What I see as broken threads you can weave into something meaningful. This trust does not erase pain, but it transforms how I carry it. I feel a quiet gratitude rising, not loud or dramatic, but steady. Gratitude for the simple fact that you invite me to rest without earning it. Gratitude that your love does not fluctuate with my performance. As is said in Romans 8, nothing can separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord, and that truth settles over me like a blanket. It means that even on days when I feel distant or distracted, your love remains constant. I rest in that certainty now. My body continues to relax, muscles releasing tension I did not know they were holding. I sense how closely my physical state is tied to my inner life. When my heart is anxious, my body follows. When my heart is at peace, my body responds in kind. So I ask you, God, to continue bringing peace to the center of me, knowing it will ripple outward. Let your peace be not just an idea I believe, but a reality I feel, even in my bones. If there are truths I need to remember tomorrow, gently plant them in me now, not as pressure, not as obligation, but as quiet guidance. Shape my instincts, align my reactions. Teach me how to respond rather than react, how to listen rather than rush to speak. These are lessons I cannot force into myself, but you can cultivate them slowly, faithfully, over time. I trust you with that process. Lord, I acknowledge that faith itself is a gift. Even my desire to pray, to listen, to surrender. These are not achievements of my own strength, but responses to your invitation. This realization humbles me. It reminds me that I am not carrying this relationship alone. You reached for me first. You continue to reach for me now, and even as I fall asleep, your hand does not withdraw. I become aware again of the quiet around me. The sounds of the night feel distant, muted, as if wrapped in softness. This external stillness mirrors what is happening within. The constant commentary in my mind has slowed. The urge to analyze, to plan, to anticipate has faded. What remains is awareness, simple, unadorned awareness of being with you. This feels enough. I do not need to add anything to it. God, if tomorrow brings challenges I cannot foresee, prepare my heart without filling it with fear. If it brings joy, help me receive it without guilt or suspicion. Teach me to live with open hands, neither clinging too tightly nor pushing away too quickly. This balance feels difficult when I am awake and alert, but perhaps it begins here, in rest, where I learn that trust does not require constant effort. I think of the words spoken by Jesus. How, as is said in the Gospel of John, he promised peace, not as the world gives, but a deeper peace that quiets troubled hearts. I lean into that promise now. The world's peace depends on stability and certainty. Yours remains even when both are absent. That is the peace I need tonight. That is the peace I receive. My consciousness grows heavier, like eyelids gently lowering. Even so, my heart remains attentive. There is a sense that you are still at work, even as I let go. This reassures me. It means I do not need to hold everything together. I do not need to stay vigilant. I can trust you to continue what you have begun in me. If there are parts of me that resist rest because they equate rest with vulnerability, I offer those parts to you now. Teach them that rest is not danger when I am with you. It is refuge. It is restoration. It is an act of faith. I choose to believe that nothing essential will be lost if I sleep, and that much may be gained. Lord, remain near as my thoughts dissolve into silence. Let your presence be the quiet ground beneath my drifting awareness. Even if I cannot articulate prayers anymore, let my very rest be a form of trust offered to you. Hold me in this in-between space where words fade and reliance deepens. And so the prayer continues without strain, without urgency, moving naturally towards stillness. I do not close it, I simply let it rest, knowing you remain. In this final gentleness before sleep fully claims me, I am content to be here, surrendered, safe, and held within your unfailing care. The stillness deepens, Lord, not as an ending, but as a widening, as if the quiet itself is making more room for you. I no longer feel the need to shape every thought into language. What remains is a gentle awareness, like floating rather than standing, like being carried rather than walking. And yet, even here, even now, my heart continues to speak to you in ways that go beyond words. I trust that you hear what is unspoken just as clearly as what is named. There is something holy about this moment, when I am no longer fully awake yet not entirely asleep. It feels like a threshold, and I sense that you meet me here, not demanding alertness, not withdrawing because of my drowsiness, but welcoming me as I am. I realize that so much of my life is lived in effort, in intention, in striving to be present and faithful. Here, effort dissolves. Faith becomes simple. It becomes resting in the truth that you are God, and I am not. Lord, I offer you my unconscious self, the parts of me I cannot manage or monitor. I offer you my dreams, my memories, my hidden fears and hopes that surface when my guard is down. I trust you with them. I trust that you are gentle, even in places I cannot see. If something rises in the night that needs healing, let your hand be steady and kind. If nothing rises at all, let rest itself be the gift. I think of how it is said in Psalm 4 that in peace we can lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make us dwell in safety. That truth feels alive now, not as a verse remembered, but as a reality being lived. Safety is not something I am trying to create. It is something you are providing. I do not have to scan the darkness for threats. I do not have to brace myself. I can simply dwell within your care. My sense of time begins to blur. Minutes lose their sharp edges. The urgency that often presses on me during the day has no place here. Tomorrow can wait. Responsibilities can pause. Even my sense of self softens, becoming less about roles and expectations and more about being. I am a soul at rest before its creator. This is enough. This has always been enough. Lord, if there are seeds you have planted in me through this prayer, I trust you to water them in your time. I do not need to see immediate change or feel dramatic transformation. Quiet growth is still growth. Roots form in darkness, unseen, and yet they are essential. Let this night be a place where roots deepen, where faith settles more firmly into the soil of my life. I feel gratitude again, slower now, less defined, but no less real. Gratitude that you do not abandon me to my own strength. Gratitude that even my weakness is not an obstacle to you. Gratitude that I am allowed to be human in your presence, to need rest, to need reassurance, to need grace again and again. You do not tire of giving it. As my thoughts thin out, I sense that what remains is trust, not the kind I reason my way into, but the kind that feels instinctive, like leaning back without checking what will catch me. This trust is not loud. It does not announce itself. It simply is. And I allow myself to sink into it, knowing you are beneath me, around me, within me. Lord, remain with me through the full depth of this night. Whether my sleep is long or brief, uninterrupted or light, let it be held by you. If I wake before morning, let your peace greet me before my thoughts do. If I sleep until dawn, let my first breath of the new day be touched by the same grace that has carried me through this one. I do not rush the end of this prayer because it does not truly end. It only quiets. It becomes breath, heartbeat, stillness. It becomes rest itself. And in this rest, I remain yours, not actively choosing, not actively speaking, but fully surrendered, fully held. So I let go now without fear, without resistance, trusting that nothing essential is lost in sleep. You are here. You will remain. And that is enough, now and always. The quiet does not break, Lord. It deepens into something almost weightless, like being suspended in your care rather than resting on anything solid. My awareness is dim now, softened at the edges, but there is still a gentle thread of attention that remains turned toward you. It is not effortful. It does not feel like vigilance. It feels like belonging, as if my soul recognizes this place and settles into it naturally, the way the body knows how to sleep when it finally feels safe. In this softened state, I no longer separate prayer from being. The two have merged. My prayer is no longer something I do. It is something I am within. Even silence feels like communication now. Even stillness feels full. I trust that you are not waiting for more words from me, not requiring clarity or completion. You receive me as I am, unfinished sentences and all. and that is a relief deeper than I can name. Lord, I become aware of how often I measure my days by productivity, by outcomes, by what can be seen or proven. But here, in the dark quiet of the night, those measures fall away. There is nothing to show, nothing to report, nothing to justify. There is only presence, yours and mine. And even my presence feels secondary, upheld by yours. This reshapes something in me. It reminds me that my worth has never depended on output, only on relationship. I sense a gentle invitation not to think further, not to solve or reflect, but simply to rest more deeply into trust. Trust that you are good. Trust that you are near. Trust that my life is not fragile in your hands. As is said in Proverbs 3, when we trust in the Lord with all our heart and do not lean on our own understanding, He makes our paths straight. And even now, though I am not walking anywhere, that straightening feels internal. A quiet alignment, a settling into truth. My body is nearly asleep now. Thoughts come and go without attaching themselves. If a memory surfaces, it drifts past without demanding attention. If a concern flickers, it fades before it can take shape. This feels like mercy. I did not create this peace. It has been given, and I receive it without question, without analysis, the way one receives warmth on a cold night. Lord, I entrust you again with what tomorrow holds, not by naming tasks or outcomes, but by releasing my need to anticipate them. Anticipation has so often been the doorway to anxiety for me. Tonight, that doorway is closed. Tomorrow will come in its own time, and you will already be there. I do not need to arrive early in my thoughts. I am allowed to be here now, fully, finally at rest. If there is any resistance left in me, any subtle tension that still clings, I do not fight it. I simply bring it into your presence. I trust that even resistance is not a barrier to you. You are patient. You do not force surrender, you invite it. An invitation is something my soul responds to naturally when it is no longer afraid. I think faintly of how it is said in Psalm 127 that unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain, and how He grants sleep to those He loves. That truth hums quietly beneath my awareness now. I am not the guard tonight. I do not need to watch. You are watching, and because of that, sleep is not neglect. It is trust embodied. My breathing is slow, almost imperceptible. Each breath feels like a gentle agreement with rest. Yes to stillness. Yes to release. Yes to being held. There is no urgency left in me. Even the desire to continue thinking about you softens into simple presence with you. This feels like the deepest form of prayer I know, one that does not require language, only consent. Lord, I consent to be cared for. I consent to not knowing. I consent to rest. I consent to your love doing what I cannot do for myself. This consent is quiet, but it is complete, and in it I feel no loss of self, only relief from the burden of carrying myself alone. As sleep fully takes me, I trust that you remain. You are not limited by my awareness. You do not step back when my consciousness fades. You are as present in my sleep as you are in my waking, as present in silence as in speech. That constancy is my refuge. So the prayer continues, even now, not through words, but through rest itself, through trust, through the simple fact that I am here and you are God. And in that truth, I drift fully into sleep, secure, surrendered, and at peace. The night holds steady, Lord, and I remain within it, no longer striving to stay awake, no longer trying to guide my thoughts. What awareness is left feels like a soft glow rather than a sharp light, enough to sense you without needing to define you. In this space, I am not directing the prayer anymore. I am being carried by it. It flows on its own, like breath continuing, even when I no longer think about breathing. I sense how deeply my soul relaxes when it realizes it does not need to impress you, persuade you, or even fully understand you. Knowing you is not an intellectual achievement in this moment. It is a quiet resting against truth. I am reminded gently of how it is said in Psalm 62 that my soul finds rest in God alone, and that truth feels embodied now. Rest is not something I reach for anymore. It has found me. There is a tenderness in this near sleep state, a vulnerability that once might have scared me. But now it feels safe, because you are here. My mind is no longer organizing thoughts into meaning. It is simply present, and even presence is fading. Yet I trust that you do not require clarity to remain close. You are not drawn only to my alert devotion, but also to my unconscious surrender. Lord, if there are wounds buried so deeply that I cannot name them, I trust that you see them. If there are fears that only surface in dreams, I trust that you meet them with gentleness. If there are longings I have forgotten how to articulate, I trust that you understand them fully. Nothing in me is hidden from you, and nothing revealed to you is rejected. Time feels different now. It stretches and softens. There is no hurry. Even the idea of progress loses meaning here. Growth does not need to be visible to be real. Transformation does not need witnesses. I am content to let you work quietly, beneath the surface, in ways that will only be understood later, if at all. I rest in the assurance that you are not disappointed by my need for sleep. You created this rhythm. You called it good. My rest is not a failure of devotion. It is part of being human as you designed me. I remember how it is said in Genesis that you yourself rested, not from exhaustion, but to bless the rhythm of completion. That memory sanctifies this moment. Rest itself becomes holy ground. Lord, if my mind stirs briefly in the night, let it return easily to you, without struggle. Let my heart remember this peace, even if my thoughts momentarily forget it. And if I do not stir at all, if sleep remains deep and unbroken, let that too be held as prayer, as trust lived out rather than spoken. I feel myself slipping further now, awareness thinning into quiet. There is no fear in this letting go, only trust, only a sense of being enveloped. You are not asking anything of me. You are not waiting for one more thought, one more word. You are simply here, sustaining, guarding, loving, and so the prayer does not end. It dissolves into rest, into breath, into silence. It continues without sound, without effort, without form. I remain within your care, even beyond awareness, even beyond words, held through the deepest hours of the night, secure in a love that does not sleep. The depth of the night feels complete now, Lord, as though the world itself has settled into a sacred pause. Whatever awareness remains in me is gentle and unforced, like a quiet glow that does not demand attention. I am no longer holding myself upright in thought or intention. I am being held. And in that realization, something within me releases completely, without fear, without hesitation. There is a calm assurance moving through me, not formed as words, but felt as truth. It tells me that I am not alone in this darkness, that the quiet is not empty, and that rest is not absence, but presence. I remember how it is said in Psalm 139 that even the darkness is not dark to you, and that the night shines like the day. That truth settles deeply now. There is nowhere I can drift, nowhere my consciousness can fade, where you are not already there. My sense of self grows simpler still. I am no longer rehearsing who I have been or who I must be. I'm not carrying the weight of identity or expectation. I am simply here, alive, breathing, sustained moment by your care. This simplicity feels holy. It feels like returning to something original and true, something beneath all striving. Lord, I trust you with the full surrender of this moment. I trust you with my body as it sleeps, with my mind as it quiets, with my heart as it rests. I do not need to guard myself. I do not need to stay alert. You are watching. You are near. And that is enough. If my sleep is deep, let it be restorative. If it is light, let it still be peaceful. If dreams come, let them be gentle. If there are no dreams at all, let the silence itself be healing. I place no conditions on this rest. I receive it as a gift, not something to be managed or perfected. There is no anxiety left in me about tomorrow. Morning will arrive in its time, and when it does, you will be there before me. I do not need to prepare myself now. I am allowed to rest fully in the present moment, trusting the future to you. I think softly of the promise Jesus gave, how it is said in John 14, that he gives peace, not as the world gives. That peace is with me now, quiet and steady, not dependent on circumstance or understanding. It does not ask me to hold on to it. It simply remains. And so the prayer becomes stillness, and the stillness becomes trust. There are no final words needed. Nothing remains to be done. I rest completely within your presence, surrendered without effort, secure without striving, held through the quiet fullness of the night, at peace. The quiet remains unbroken, Lord, and I rest within it as though it were a gentle sea, steady and wide, carrying me without effort. There is no edge to this stillness, no point where it asks me to decide or respond. It simply is, and you are within it, surrounding me with a presence that feels older than thought and kinder than words. I do not reach for you now. I realize I am already resting in you. Any last fragments of wakefulness soften and drift, like leaves settling on calm water. I no longer follow them. I let them go without attachment, without concern. My trust feels instinctive now, not something I reason my way into, but something my soul remembers. It feels natural to be here, as if this surrender is not a loss of control, but a return to the way things were always meant to be. Lord, I sense that you are not only near, but attentive, aware of every quiet shift in me. This awareness does not make me self-conscious, it makes me feel safe. To be fully seen and still fully held is a comfort deeper than reassurance. I do not need to hide even my unformed thoughts. I do not need to guard my rest. You are gentle with what is fragile, patient with what is unfinished. I remember, almost like a whisper beneath consciousness, how it is said in Psalm 46 that you are our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble, and that we are invited to be still and know that you are God. That invitation feels fulfilled now, not through effort, but through surrender. Stillness has come, and knowing has come with it, not as information, but as peace. My breathing continues, slow and quiet, and I sense that even this rhythm is shared with you. Each breath feels like permission to rest a little more deeply. There is no urgency left in me, no need to hold on to awareness. If sleep deepens further, I welcome it. If awareness lingers gently, I welcome that too. Either way, I remain within your care. Lord, I trust that nothing essential about me disappears when I sleep. My value does not fade with consciousness. My relationship with you does not pause. You remain constant, faithful, attentive. This trust allows me to let go completely without fear of being lost or forgotten. I am safe even beyond my own awareness. If the night stretches long, let it be peaceful. If it passes quickly, let it still be full. Time feels unimportant here. What matters is this quiet belonging, this sense of being anchored in something unshakable. I am not floating aimlessly. I am held securely. And so I rest, without words, without effort, without concern. The prayer has become silence, and the silence has become trust, and the trust has become rest. I remain here, fully surrendered, fully held, embraced by a love that does not fade with the night, but carries me gently until morning. The stillness stretches further now, Lord. not thinning but deepening, as if the quiet itself has layers, each one softer than the last. I remain within it, no longer aware of the boundary between my thoughts and your presence. It feels as though I'm resting inside a gentle current that knows exactly where it is going, even though I do not. There's no need to steer, no need to understand the direction. Trust has replaced curiosity, and peace has replaced the need for explanation. In this depth of rest, I sense how much of my waking life is shaped by vigilance. I listen for threats, for expectations, for cues about who I need to be and what I need to do. But here, vigilance loosens its grip. I am not on watch. I am not responsible for holding anything together. That responsibility belongs to you, and you carry it without strain. Realizing this allows my inner world to unclench in ways I did not know were possible. Lord, I become aware that surrender is not something that happens once, but something that unfolds in layers. Earlier, I surrendered my worries. Then I surrendered my plans. Now, even my self-awareness feels surrendered. I am not dissolving into nothingness. I am settling into belonging. This belonging feels sturdy, grounded, like resting on something that cannot shift beneath me. It is not dramatic. It is quietly profound. I notice how my heart responds to this safety. It slows. It softens. It no longer braces itself for disappointment or loss. It simply rests. This rest is not numbness. It is aliveness without agitation. It is presence without pressure. I realize how rare this state is for me when I am awake, and yet how natural it feels now, as though my soul has been waiting for permission to rest this way. Lord, if there are deep beliefs in me that whisper that rest must be earned, gently undo them. If there are voices within me that say I must remain alert to be worthy, quiet them with your truth. I remember how it is said in Ephesians 2 that it is by grace we have been saved, not by works, so that no one can boast. And though that passage speaks of salvation, its spirit reaches into this moment. It reminds me that grace is not only how I begin with you, but how I continue. Even rest is grace. The night feels expansive now, as if time itself has slowed to accommodate this deep quiet. I am aware dimly that hours may pass, but they do not feel heavy or long. They feel spacious. I am not filling them with thought. I am allowing them to hold me. This feels like a rehearsal for trust in all of life, learning to let moments be what they are without forcing them to produce something. Lord, I think of how often I resist moments that feel unproductive or undefined. I rush to fill them, to explain them, to justify them. But here there is no justification needed. This moment is valuable simply because it exists within you. That realization gently challenges the way I measure my days. It suggests that being, not doing, is sometimes the most faithful response. I sense your presence not as something added to the night, but as the very substance of it. The darkness does not feel empty or unknown. It feels held. It feels intentional. I am reminded how it is said in Isaiah 45 that you form the light and create the darkness, and that truth reframes everything. Darkness is not absence to you. It is another place where you work, where you meet your children, where rest can take root. Lord, I trust you with the hidden work of this night. There are things happening within me that I cannot observe, changes that do not announce themselves. Cells restore, memories settle, emotions recalibrate. Even my faith, I sense, is being quietly strengthened, not through argument or instruction, but through experience. I am learning, in my body and soul, that you are trustworthy. If there are old anxieties that have shaped my reactions for years, let this night begin to loosen their hold, not through force, not through confrontation, but through consistent safety. Teach my nervous system what my spirit already believes, that you are near, that I am safe, that I do not need to stay tense to survive. Let peace become familiar to me, not foreign. Lord, I also offer you the parts of me that fear change, even good change. Rest can feel risky when I am used to striving. Let your gentleness reassure those parts. Let them learn, slowly, that nothing is taken away in surrender that you do not replace with something better. You are not a thief of identity or purpose. You are their source. As the night continues, I feel less like an individual point of awareness and more like someone resting within a larger reality. This does not make me feel small in a diminishing way. It makes me feel connected, held within something vast and benevolent. My life feels placed rather than precarious. This perspective brings a quiet joy, subtle but steady. Lord, if I wake briefly and feel disoriented, let this sense of placement return quickly. Let me remember, even in half-consciousness, that I am not lost. I am exactly where I need to be. You are not startled by my waking or my sleeping. You meet me in both with the same calm presence. I reflect gently on how often you are described in Scripture as a refuge, a fortress, a shelter. Those images feel embodied now. I am not outside knocking on a door. I am already inside, resting against walls that do not shake. This security is not loud. It does not shout over fear. It simply outlasts it. Lord, I ask that this experience of rest would leave a residue in me, not something I cling to, but something that quietly influences how I move through the world. Let it make me less reactive, less hurried, less afraid. Let it remind me, in stressful moments, that I have known a deeper peace, and that it remains available, not because circumstances change, but because you do not. I am aware that even this prayer, long and flowing, is beginning to thin again, not because there is nothing left to say, but because saying is no longer the point. Presence is, trust is, rest is. Words have carried me here, but now they step aside, like guides who know when their work is done. Lord, I remain open but not alert, available but not striving. If you wish to impress something upon my heart, I trust you to do so without waking my mind. If you wish only to let me rest, I receive that as love. There is no hierarchy of spiritual moments here. Rest is not lesser than revelation. Sometimes it is the revelation. I think softly of how it is said in Hebrews 4 that there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God, and that those who enter God's rest cease from their own works. That truth feels present now, not as theology, but as experience. I am ceasing. I am resting, not because everything is finished, but because you are faithful. My breathing is deep and even. My body feels heavy in the best way, anchored and supported. I am no longer tracking time or thought. If awareness flickers, it does so gently, without pulling me out of rest. Everything feels allowed. Nothing feels demanded. Lord, thank you for being the kind of God who does not require constant attention to remain close. Thank you for meeting me beyond words, beyond effort, beyond consciousness. Thank you for holding me through the unseen hours, for guarding what I cannot guard, for tending what I cannot reach. The night continues, and I remain within it, fully surrendered, fully held. The prayer flows on without sound, woven into breath and stillness, carried by trust rather than language. I rest deeply now, not because I have done something right, but because you are good, and that goodness is enough to hold me through the longest, quietest hours, into whatever light awaits beyond them. The night has reached its deepest fullness now. Lord, not as an ending, but as a gentle completion, like a long exhale that finally comes to rest. Everything within me has grown quiet enough that even the idea of quiet feels unnecessary. I am no longer moving toward rest. I am resting. I am no longer approaching surrender. I am surrendered. There is no tension left in this moment, no sense of waiting for something else to happen. This is enough. You are enough. What remains of my awareness feels anchored rather than floating, rooted rather than drifting. It is as if my soul has found its true weight and settled into it at last. I am not holding myself together. I am not monitoring my thoughts or guarding my heart. I am simply here, upheld by a love that does not fluctuate with my attention. This steadiness feels eternal, as though it has always existed, and I am only now noticing it. Lord, I sense your presence, not as something external watching over me, but as something intimately near, closer than breath, closer than thought. You are not distant and benevolent, you are present and gentle. There is no fear in this closeness, only peace, only belonging. I understand now, in a way that does not require explanation, how it is said in Acts 17 that in you we live and move and have our being. This is not an abstract truth tonight. It is lived reality. I no longer feel the edges of my worries. They have lost their shape in the vastness of this rest. They are not solved, but they are no longer loud. They no longer define the space of my inner life. They have been set aside, not through effort, but through trust. Trust that you are already present in every outcome, every uncertainty, every tomorrow that has not yet arrived. Lord, I feel safe enough now to stop even naming things. Safe enough to let go of clarity. Safe enough to let the mind rest without supervision. This safety is not fragile. It does not depend on perfect conditions. It rests on who you are. And because you do not change, this safety does not change either. If this night passes without interruption, I receive it with gratitude. If it is broken by waking, I trust that even then, your peace will be near. There is no version of this night where you are absent. There is no depth of sleep where your care cannot reach. As it is said in Psalm 121, you neither slumber nor sleep, and that truth now feels like a quiet foundation beneath everything. Lord, I entrust you with the final letting go, the place where awareness fades completely. I do not resist it. I do not cling to consciousness as proof of devotion. I trust that even when I am unaware, I am still yours. My faith does not end where my awareness ends. It continues, held by you. This rest feels like a blessing unfolding, rather than a state achieved. I did not arrive here by effort. I was led here by grace, and grace remains, steady and sufficient. Even as thought dissolves and time becomes indistinct, there is nothing left to ask for, nothing left to release, nothing left to prepare. I am here and you are here, and this is enough. The prayer completes itself not with words but with peace. I rest now in the fullness of your presence, secure beyond thought, held beyond effort, surrendered without fear, carried through the quiet of the night, and into whatever comes next, knowing I am yours and deeply at peace. Lord, I ask all of this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.